To our April 3rd, 2019 Special Board of Finance meeting. Would you all please rise. Pledge allegiance. All right. Next item, roll call. Don Cavella.
Here.
Gary Stelzman.
Here.
David Saros.
Here.
Scott Gardner. Here. Scott Charlwood. Here. Ted Dumaine.
Here.
Travis Irons. Here. Tom Sankwitz. All right, next item, acceptance of the minutes from the March 27, 2019 meeting.
I move the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of accepting the minutes from the March 27, 2019 meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Next item, under new business, meeting with our Board of Education to discuss the fiscal year 2019-2020 budget proposal. So the way this is going to work this evening is I'm going to give our Superintendent of Schools, Ken DiPietro, an opportunity to present what the Board of Education has put together and approved for their proposal, for their budget. And so Ken is going to go through a number of items pertaining to the budget, and we are then going to, once he is finished, we're going to give him an opportunity to finish everything. We're going to give the opportunity to the Board of Finance members to have any discussion and questions that they may have. I know I have a couple of subjects at the very end. I will go over with Ken and we will discuss very briefly. Once that is concluded, and once all the Board of Finance members have concluded their discussion and any questions we may have, when I open the floor for citizen participation, that will be then any citizens' opportunities to ask directly to Ken. Ken is our spokesperson, but obviously if he directs it to anybody else, I'm a member of the Board of Education, that's fine. But I just want to be clear as far as how that citizens' participation is going to work. I'm still going to recognize you. Please stand up, project your voice, identify your name and your address. And then you can address any specific questions relating to the presentation, and we'll discuss certainly Ken. And again, if we need to redirect it to anybody in the room, we will do so accordingly. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Ken.
Actually, we'll start with the chair so she can introduce, and I'll follow on their adopted request.
Very good.
Good evening. So in front of you, if you haven't picked up a copy, there's plenty of copies in the back, is the 2019-2020 proposed Plainfield Public Schools budget. There's a letter from me in here, but in addition, I'll just kind of go over what we face for the budget and what we planned for this year. The total budget appropriation request is of $35,927,137. The increase is an actual increase of $498,767. That represents a 1.41 increase over last year. The primary drivers of the increase are the special education tuition placements, E-CHIP health insurance, which matches the town with 5%, the certified and non-certified wages, which I know Mr. Cavella also sat in on our negotiations. That includes 0%, 1.75, and 2.5. And then in addition, just that comes up to $903,000. We're asking for the total to be reduced by using the special ed access grant monies to represent $498,767 roughly. So at this point, I will turn it over to Superintendent DiPietro that will walk you through the further budget to explain how we arrived at those numbers. Thank you.
So for the Board of Finance, there are a few sheets in here that kind of set the stage of how we are here. For all of you that have a copy, you'll be able to follow the pages you have followed directly here, and everything else follows by the board. So this is just the history, and for the public that was unaware. So back in 16-17, we had a full budget that was awarded by the town at $35,171,000. But in 17-18, ECS was reduced by $747,000. In that year, our schools were only allowed to spend $34,859. There was actually only a $690,000 decrease because the board agreed that they would cover some costs that we had projected. It was about $50,000 to $60,000 more than the state had cut. So we actually were saved a little bit of the ECS cut by the board, and we very much appreciate it. We come to this year, and we're starting at $35,428. That is our current budget, and that's the base we're going to work off to explain what we're asking for. Just so you know, you're going to see that if you look at all the increases on the right-hand side over here, the actual increase, even if you're a Board of Finance member and can't see the little numbers up here, because I wouldn't be able to either at my age, but you're younger than me, it's about $569,000. I just want you to know that the $569,000 added this year from the prior year, the ECS reduction, was all from the ECS that was partially reinstated. They took $749,000 away, and the state only gave us $561,000. But the only increase we're working on this year is $569,000. So really, it's not a tax burden this year, as last year it stayed. If you then look, and what it says, over the past 2 years, from 16-17 to 2018-19, Plainfield did receive less than $250,000. If you look at where we were back in 16-17 and where we are now, we're only $250,000 more than 2 years ago. That's the entire amount that our budget has grown, and $560,000 of it is coming from state aid. So I think you're going to see on the next screen that the actual impact on the taxpayers, we've been hearing over a number of years, why do the schools continue to ask the taxpayers for more money? But if you just look at the line, and the board has this as well, that you look at the amount of money, the taxpayers actually went from 2016-17 to 17-18, they actually increased by $350,000, and we are extremely appreciative of that. And in that year that the town, the taxpayers gave us $350,000 more, the state took $750,000 away. We just can't win. You know, we need the state to understand Plainfield does its job, and we do it well, and we deserve to be fully funded appropriately. But they cut the heart out at $750,000, and the taxpayers didn't cut their share. They said we're going to keep ours. But if you look at the $17,788, this year, the tax impact will be $17,767. So when you hear the media people, that's saying, why do the schools keep asking? In fact, for the last 2 years, we've been level funded in taxes. The evidence is there. This is by Mahoney, etc., our auditors. So I think the frame of reference is it appropriate if we're asking for money this year? Is there some reason that explains why over the last 2 years, we've been a little bit short of what we needed? When the ECS was cut, these are the things that went away. We had 5 part-time custodians, they were eliminated. We had 3 behavior management helping us with some of the mental health in our schools. They're gone. 10 para-educators were reduced, 2 secretarial positions, 4 educator vacancies. When they were gone, we just raised the classroom size. So our classrooms went from 18 to 22, there's an error there, to 22 to 24, we're up. And some of you may say, but that's a reasonable class size. I'm a superintendent, you have a board, we agreed we can raise the class size to keep the cost down. We prefer to see it lower, we try to keep it lower in the younger grades. But it's a fate that happens when you have to be tight with the budget. So we're not lamenting it, we're just telling you that's a byproduct of what happened. The certified nursing assistant course was not able to be implemented. We didn't have the funds with $750,000 being cut. And then after school transportation was reduced, and if you don't know this, because I think it's, if I don't tell you what's happening, sometimes we don't put this out there, but more than 150 of our employees all took a furlough day at loss of pay. They actually contributed that back. And that's because we knew that we were having trouble getting to the end of the year and getting within budget when we were cut 690, not 740, because again, the Board of Ed helped out the Board of Finance helped out the Board of Ed. But at the end of that year, there is a report, we went to the audit, and even though the Board of Finance thought it would take $1 million out of the fund balance to make that year work, they were fortunate enough not to lose the $1 million and actually put $500,000 back into the fund balance. So again, we're asking for some money, and it's almost $500,000. And I think a little bit of it is, if you realize for 2 years, we've been level funded and have reduced programs, and we're asking just to keep balance, not even to make major gains. And of the money that went back, I can tell you, because the Board of Finance just dealt with this last month, we got $700,000 that year with the ECS cut, and we never used it that year, because we knew everything was tight. So of the $700,000 that we got in the special ed excess, that money just basically carried through into the fund balance. Not really, because you were counting on that money to help us, but we didn't drain it like this year we needed it. So that's the framework, and understand for at least 2 years this is what's been happening. So let's just look, these are the pages we'll go through quickly. I'm sure you can read, the history we have, that we come to your meetings to the best of our ability, the priorities. And then I do want to show you the staffing data. For those of you who are a little confused with the lines, this should be page 3, now we're on your book, where there's no other extraneous pages. I wanted the public to have a frame of reference of the history. So if you could see it, the reason I grouped it is I wanted to show you, I've been an administrator and I've been an educator for 45 years. One thing the public is they don't want to hear that survival cohort, you have to add 20 people in this year. It's true, it's real, it's mathematical, but we don't get it. Like if there's 141 kids in pre-K, shouldn't there be 141 kids going into K? That's what this chart does. It just shows you that the children here, if they get 1 year older, should be in the next grade. And you can see that the numbers are not fictitious. They're basically the October enrollment just carried forward. Now, there is 2 unique things about the enrollment. One thing is, if you look at grade 8 going into 9, you're going to see there's 171 kids, but we expect 138. And if you don't know the reason for that, last year, this current year, there were 180 students in the 8th grade, but only 138 of them showed up this year. 45 kids went to Ellis Tech. And I can't tell you the reasons. I mean, right, 45 kids out of our 8th grade class. Now, we get influx from Sterling, so Sterling makes up a bit of it, but even some of the Sterling kids went on to Ellis. Ellis is a school that allows kids to do a trade. We all know that that's a real life skill. You walk out of that school, you should have that trade. We also produce that, but it's marketing. It's knowing that if I come to Plainfield High School, I can walk out and I can have certain capacities, such as a CNA license. We have engineering courses that we line up with Three Rivers College. We have all sorts of programs that our kids walk out, and we're very proud of that. We have more kids attending college than ever in our history. We're making the progress because we put the right pieces together. But I can't tell you that to expect 171 kids coming out of the 8th grade to 9th grade, and I know, because I already have, 48 of them were accepted into Ellis. We're now doing what we can to convince them, are you sure you want that? Because look at what we're offering you. We're not only offering you an academic program, we are offering you wood shops and CAD drawing, and we're offering you programs such as engineering connections. We're offering you college. So some of these students are rethinking, and I'm hopeful that number will be better. But because the number is a little lower, we're seeing that the high school may go from 616 down to 600, and we're reducing a math and an English teacher. So why you want to look at this page is to say, did the school department tuck money away? Absolutely not. Are they being transparent? We're cutting 1 teacher out of the group in here, because when you go from 172 to 136, there's going to be less kids in a class, so we can reduce a teacher. And here we're going from 156 to 172. I'm going to need a teacher. So it's pretty straightforward, but if you don't know how to read the charts, it's like, what are these pluses and minuses? They're pretty transparent. We are going to add in a math teacher in this middle school cycle, because our math scores are lower than our ELA, and that's what's keeping them from going back to a class category 1 school. We need to raise that up. And here we're reducing in a math, and in English because the enrollment has dropped from 650 down to about 600. But we have to add in a half-world language teacher. The new law, I love it, mandates without money. The new law is that if you attend high school, you cannot graduate without having at least a world language course. You don't have to be a world language specialist, but every student who comes to Plainfield High, anyone who graduates from any high school in Connecticut, the freshman class entering has to be able to take it. So we just tonight, we redesigned a course which is going to be more of the cultural language acquisition course for students who don't want a 4-year program or a 3-year program of language. They just know they have a requirement. So I put in a half-world language teacher, and the board understands that, because if you don't have it, you won't meet the regulations. Our children will not be able to graduate, a set of them. But we already have more than 50-60% of our kids taking world language. I only have to worry about the 40%. So that's why we have half a teacher instead of a full teacher. That just shows you the legitimacy of the teacher. When people say, is the budget, lean, or is it somewhat extravagant, you can look at that and say, we saw the cuts. I'll show you all the cuts under the consolidation. We get there in a minute. Just in case you don't know it, remember the public, this is when I came here back in 2010-11. It was approximately 38%. We're up to 54% poverty. The new state, I don't want to call it a game because I'm on tape, but the new thing is that the state wants to use the standard poverty rate, like median family income. And the issue is, we have 14,000 people in this town. We have only 2,200 children in our schools. If you take 2,200 children and double it to 4,000, maybe there are 4,000 parents. 4,000 parents versus 14,000 people, or another 8,000, we represent only 40% of the population. So our poverty rate is higher because more of the people living in poverty have children at home they're trying to feed. They're not just single individuals, which don't qualify for being poverty. So if you use the state's model, they're going to say we should be lower funded. That's a looming threat. We heard it from the governor, which we'll have a conversation with at some point. But so that just shows you the legitimacy of the fact that there is an issue of poverty in the town. I'm going too fast because I'm trying to get through this quickly. If you want to know if we have validity and value, this is us. This is by state report. We are one of the 10 lowest cost districts in the state of Connecticut. We're less than $15,000 per student per cost. So when people are saying, can you do more with what you've got, I would challenge people to come in and do what we're doing. We're at 14.4, and look at our performance. This is our overall district performance by the states. We're making 75% of our targets. And you look across our region, this is our region, such as, this one is Lebanon, this one is Killingly, this one is Ballantown, this one is Andover, this one is Lisbon. Look at their scores. We're 75, 73, 71, 69, 70, 65, 70, 74. We're in the top half of our region for our performance, and yet we're one of the lowest costs. The lowest cost, if you want, you've got to move to Woodstock. Not that I want you to stay here, but Woodstock has a lower cost. Very small community, is only 857 children in the district, and they're doing well. We have 2,200. So, is it a value? I say it is a value for your dollar, but then I'm here to convince you to support our budget. You can read the budget constraints. I think I'm going to show it to you in numbers. So I know the board has done that, and I left that for you to read. But let me show you the page that, I don't think it went in yours, and I'm afraid of that, because I said not in the binder. So for the board's sake, I know it's hard to see, let me just show you what we did. People are wondering, when you build a budget, do you account for everything? We took out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We took out 7 retirees because I know we'll get them. I currently have 6 on record, and I think next Wednesday we have 1 or 2 that are coming in. So we subtracted from each school a retiree because that's money. I don't know who that person is. I can't take them out of the budget. I can only take the amount of money. So if a $74,000 teacher retires and a $44,000 teacher starts, it's a $30,000 differential. I don't know if he's buying a $44,000 teacher for a $74,000. Try it in home ec, it won't happen. try it in world languages. You're not going to find a first-year teacher coming out with home ec or family and consumer science. But that shows you we did that. We went through the non-certified paraeducators, and we're funding half of those paraeducators by the special education fund. So we reduced the cost to the taxpayers by putting half of it against the special ed excess, because these parents are assigned mostly to special ed children. So we took out teachers that are actually retiring in here, and I'm sorry, not retiring. We said we're going to reduce an English teacher and we're going to reduce a math teacher. Well, that's not a $30,000 because that teacher's going to go away. So we already took out the retirement. We actually took out the rest of that salary for the person who's going to leave. They're a top step teacher. And so they just won't be there. It's not like I'm replacing them, right? You catch that? Nah, that's what I know we're doing. So those were the cuts that were made even before you saw the budget. And then additionally, I can get you this chart if it was excluded. We did give this originally, but for some reason I was looking through your binders and I didn't see it. There are just approximately $26,000 in cuts from ECC, $56,000 from Shepherd Hill, $33,000 from NES, $1,620, that was from PMS. Forget it, I can't explain it. They had so many things that were already done that they didn't need to purchase because they just had the fire and they got new stuff. So they have the lowest request, they have the lowest cut. That makes sense, right? It does. Well, it does, just trust me. So $10,000 for PCS, $89,000 from the high school, but that includes the teachers where we made those reductions. And then there's $498,000 in special ed. Now, the cut of that is, we use special ed excess aid this year. And you know that we had 12 students costing us $580,000, we gave you that. Those children are still here. They're not in our budget, it's a structural deficit. I can't add that to the taxpayers, so we got rid of $200,000 of that by looking at things that we could do, and because we know some children who graduated. But with that reduction, it's still about $400,000, and we're suggesting that if you use the special ed excess aid money that's going to come to us, that we applied for on your behalf, it virtually lowers our MBR, it lowers the base. So instead of being at $36.3 million, we're coming at $35.9 million because we're lowering it. So next year, you're only responsible for $400,000 less. That's your decision, but clearly, if you don't put the money against special ed and you leave it as a revenue, the taxpayers won't be hurt, but our budget will go up by $400,000, and then the next year, you're starting at a higher MBR. So logically, in many districts, I know that, I won't talk to you, but I know that we've called around, and there are a lot of districts who use that methodology. So here are the cuts that were made before you see what we did ask for. And now we should be at the point of looking at what actually has the board asked for. So here's the expense and revenue. This is, you all have it and you have it, but you won't be able to see it. I'm going to point, look down at your page. It should be page 9 in your book. Here's what you should see. Each school is listed by how much they've asked for. And then, looking at the list, you're going to see what their percent of increase is. Typically, they're 1.5, 1.9, 1.4. We work to make sure that the requests were all under a 2%, and we worked with every principal in terms of what they needed and what they asked for. So here is the budget, and again, you're going to see that there is a $498,000 request for a 1.41% increase. It's less than 1.5% for the request of the budget appropriation. There's a difference in what happens with the revenue, because the revenue, the governor is saying he wants to cut $600,000, and we have other things that have been happening, and ECS has been challenging for a couple of years. But the question is, I'm here to tell you, and to hopefully convince people, that the appropriation is the right amount, given what's being asked for. So those are your schools, and the question is, how can you determine the revenue side? I don't know why that's great. Okay, thank you. I don't know how that went. Okay. So if we get to the revenue page, which should be the next page for you, what you're going to see is that we have projected that the governor would go the other direction and make us whole. We got cut $750, he only gave us $550 back, so we said, we're gonna expect that he's gonna reinstate it. This is a new governor saying, you know, I'd like to support, and that's what we were hearing is legislators were gonna ask to be not just held harmless, but made whole. This doesn't look like this part's gonna happen, but we are hearing that there are 100 districts out there that are gonna lose $22 million. Because if you look at the governor's budget, he's taking $22 million from the Plainfields, and he's moving $22 million to the Alliance districts. I am not sorry, you know that Reese's, not sorry. I'm not sorry that we're not in Alliance. People, it's not a banner to wave. So what happened is he wants to move $22 million from the surviving districts that have made it on their own, with their own taxpayers' dollars for the most part, and state aid, and then he's going to add $18 more million to just the Alliance districts. Go to the governor's budget, they currently get $150 million. Next year in his budget, he goes to $190 million. $22 million comes from us, $18 million. So the 100 districts, at least my colleagues as superintendents, are lobbying with our legislators to say, how can 100 people represent us and not say, hold us harmless? You want to give $18 million to the Alliance districts, God bless you if they can do it well, but don't take $22 million from the districts who are as hard pressed as anyone else. You should be leaving them alone. And the proof that that's happening is, you know that the governor was talking about moving the retirement over to the towns. The bill came out of committee and there's no retirement coming to the town. That's $85,000 we're not going to get hit with. So there is some movement right now that people are saying, you can't make change in a year when you're saying there's a fiscal crisis. If there's a fiscal crisis, why are you taking $22 million from the districts that are hard pressed and then adding $18 more million? Education isn't going down, it's going up. You're just taking it from us. So our hope is we will see at least the 153, or God willing, the legislators will say, no, give them all the money they deserve. But that's this number. Here is the special ed excess, 723. We got about 701,000 already this year. For those who don't know it, we have to write for every single child who needs excess costs. We have to, right, Scott? Every child recorded one at a time, their transportation, their costs, their paraeducation, their service, their tuition. And we do that for every single child to get this money. We already have 701,000 coming to us as of February, and they told us that not everybody qualified for the money, so there should be more money coming in May. We know we're getting 701, we probably can get 720 to 740. So we put that number here, but here's where we split it and said, if we put 400,000 against special ed, that money would reduce our bottom line to only 35,000,009 instead of 36,000,003. And then what you'll see is, in addition to this, you'll see that we have a little more money coming in from the fact that we have tuitions from Sterling, and we know that there's one additional special needs student, so where the 434 would represent X amount of students, it'll be about one more student added that has special needs. We get about $40,000 for a severely profound child who needs our services. We get about 28,000 for a child coming to us that just needs support in a classroom. And we get about 12 to 13,000 if they're at the high school, because that's their prorated share. That's our compact with Sterling. So we could get 13, we can get 25, 28, or we can get 40. We know that the student who's coming will add in about 13,000, because the child will need not severe care, but will need support. So we added that in again. And with that, you basically see the budget we're asking for. More intriguing is when you look at all those numbers in what's called an object code. So if you were in the audience look at it and you go to your object code, you're going to see that in here, what you virtually have is how much is being asked for. It should be explaining the 498,000. So we should be on the same page, and that's the money. And every line now, not how much does Shepherd Hill need, not how much does Moosup need. This is how much does it cost for all of the salaries for educators, all of the salaries for non-educators, custodians, secretaries, paraeducators, all nurses, all of those people aggregated. And then you can see every one of the lines, and you can see there's red, and you can see there's black. And that just means that in some lines we cut and some lines went up. Again, hopefully that you appreciate this, to the validity of how well we did with our budget this year. If you go to the next page, you have the third column that shows you. So, and you also have it right at your seats. You on that page? Give me a hand. Okay, good. If this doesn't impress you, I'm done. I gotta tell you, I am proud of the work we do. And at least people should, if you're upset about funding, I get it, but you should at least be able to speak to what has happened. We wanted to show you that if you look at the educator's salary and the non-certified salary, and it's underlined, and you look at E-CHIP was told to us we need a 5% increase. This has saved this district, E-CHIP has saved this district over $1 million guaranteed. That's not junk. We had 3 years where we didn't raise our health care costs. Not for us and not for the employee, because we're now self-insured with 8 other communities. So we don't pay Cigna and give them our money every year if we don't use it. We keep that money. We have $1.3 million in our account protecting our employees from doing this. And we have stop loss on those same employees. So we can't afford for that to go down. So they just told us you need 5%. We put in 4.5. Sorry, don't get nervous. We did that because, didn't I tell you we're going to have 1 less teacher in math, right? You're going to have 1 less teacher. We have 6 retirees. Well, younger people don't use this stuff as much. So, don't get mad. Anyone who's got light hair or balding hair like me, they're going to get mad. But it's just true. As we get older, we need to access more. So we reduce based on the number of people. If we have 300 people using, we only have 395, I'm not going to put 5%, I'm going to add 5% to reduce the number of users. And that's what we did. We made an appropriate adjustment. These 2 numbers here, the teachers, when you take out the retirements, are at 1.23. I don't know a district in the state of Connecticut that has an increase in a contract resolved down to 1.23. We're there. And our paras and non-certified, almost all of them are already settled. There's 2 waiting secretaries and nurses, and secretaries and nurses. And there's about only 30 people out of the 500 employees they have. So the bulk of them are done. And 18 individual contracts all took 0. The nurses actually are not, they're being negotiated for the following year, but they actually took a 0 this year, so the nurses are not in that group. The teachers have a 2.5, but we offset that by the retirees and reductions down to 1.23. The net increase for all salaries total is only 1.45. I think we did a good job at being asked to try to keep that cost down. And the board will tell you how tough it's been to have to wait through like 6 to 8 weeks of negotiations, because the answer is no, we're not giving that up, we're not giving that up. And it's impressive what was agreed to in these contracts, because they are working very hard for us, and the fact that they gave us some concessions. We took those lines out and put all the pluses in this column. We're asking for $243,000 more dollars other than those, and we subtracted $233,000. Okay, no plus, that's all right. That's impressive when you look at the fact, other than those 3 numbers, we virtually have a cost offset for all but $10,000. The only number that comes out to $498 is $178 for contractual salaries of teachers dropped by 8 retirees and 2 other teachers. $197 or whatever that, I can't see it here. Well, 101,000, but it's a smaller number, so it's a higher percentage. And $297. Add those numbers up, it's $480,000. There is nothing else in this budget. There is stuff, but the issue is we offset everything else. The things we do, we could not offset for the 2 contractual salaries in the E-CHIP because they're required. We have to do it now that we've signed our agreements. So the end of this says, here's how you work the budget. So now, in front of you, you're going to see, if you go to your section, I'm not sure if page 24, but if you go to this next section and you have a copy of Shepherd Hill, Now, folks, Board of Finance, I need you to bear with me. I can't give all the back pages because it has, I don't care if you have my name, you want to know what I make, but it has every person's name and what their status is. And I think that's a level of I think it's a level of privacy for exposure. I'm going to show you that this is the Shepherd Hill budget. And when you look at the Shepherd Hill budget, you're going to see that this is a detailed listing of all the money they asked for. But in the first page you went to, if I'm correct, and the public will not have this per se, but let me, okay. What the Board of Finance has is you have it sorted. So you can see the top, all of the things that were added in for kids and for teachers, and you see at the bottom all the reductions. We did that for you because we wanted you to be able to see how many real things were added, how many things were left neutral, and how many things were subtracted as a cost offset. The bottom line on the page you're on right now shows you the $487 there, but you can see how many things were added, and certainly salaries are going to be pluses, and how many things were negative in terms of the things we dropped, of course. How do you test the validity of whether this makes sense? The way this makes sense to you is I'm going to ask you to go, and they're going to be now where you are. If you go find the Shepherd Hill page, that's in your binder, and those of you who've been doing this for 6 years with me, you know you're going to say, got it, Ken, we know this, but for anyone, what we do is we give them that same budget you see right there. And on the very next page, you're going to see the left side, everything we are spending this year to get to today's budget. And on the right side, what was asked for by Mrs. Trahan. You can look from left to right, and you may disagree that they wanted a cafeteria table, but you will not know what they're asking for, because it's in here. Prego, it's right here. You should be able to see what they're asking for. The one that if you want to see where the public is, look at your next page. You would look at the last page of Shepherd Hill. Go right to the last section. And I'll show you why. I want to show you how you as a board can spend time before. I gave you the last page. And what you're going to see is, this year, there was $11,000. Is that $790, right? $799, right? If you look at the very last page of Shepherd Hill, in that packet, right on the back, right, you're going to see $799. You're going to see total is $11,000, correct? If you don't just isolate, this is a bad screen. But you can see that there's an increase here of about $11,000, and you can see where that money's going to. What they're buying: cameras for security. They're putting in, you know, the turret at Shepherd Hill. Well, those turrets, what they're doing is they're trying to do a section at a time and put new stair treads because they're beginning to crack. And we're trying to do a little at a time, right? Can we put $40,000 this year and do more? Yes, but no. So each year we do one set of it. That's how we try to spread this out to keep it in. You can go to every page in each section of that, see up front what money was being asked for, see the codes again, 680, 792, even the 111, which is salaries. The reason I didn't do salaries was because if you were to look at Shepherd Hill, 111 comes out to about $1,750,000, if I remember. Tell me what it is. I'm good. I remember my numbers. Anyways, $1,762,000. As soon as you turn the page, you're going to say, Superintendent said, I'm going to see 111 is going to be $1,762,000. It isn't. It's $1,500,000. Why? Because all of the teachers are there, but the social worker is somewhere else. The nurse is somewhere else. So you have to go find all the 111s. It would be harder to show you and them. Plus, I'd have to show you what our social worker he particularly makes. And I thought that was a little bit, you know, it's not invasive because it's your money, but I thought it was a little too hard to show. It's easier to just show you any code. You have every piece of documentation. The budget is not, wouldn't it be nice if we added $10,000? The budget is justify what you're buying, and that's what we pay for. We're only paying for what has already been itemized by each principal, by the Green Academies of the world, by the Scott Sugarmans of the world. Basically, we only pay for what people feel they have validity for what is needed. And then, all I did is I gave you a copy of the capital improvement, in the back of that section. The capital improvement section lists things that we were doing as part of our 5-year plan. We submitted this in January. You should have already received it, but the town didn't receive it. All we did is codify it because you bring that to the public. And if there's a code of a 1 or a 2, the 1 says it's in the budget, the 2 says it's not in the budget, or it might be under a grant, and 3 might be that we're asking for it, but we know that chances are slim in a tight financial year to get it. So we coded that for you. In general, okay, it took 30 minutes, but in general, that's the sum of how you can analyze this budget and whether or not you feel that we justified the 497. The 3 big hits to get to the 497, contractual teacher and educator salaries, contractual non-certified, and E-chip. Although there are increases that you might think could be lessened, we did our best to offset every one of them to basically make it come down to the ones we know we couldn't offset. The problem is that we know that there's a challenge of revenue, and the revenue piece, I think, has yet to be understood. We already know that the retirement didn't even come out of committee. That's good for Plainfield. My sources tell us that the legislators are fighting for Plainfield and everyone else to say, just hold harmless. Don't add that $600,000. It's not $1.4 million on the table, because that $600,000, if it goes away, automatically drops it to $800,000. Last year, you were fortunate enough to put $500,000. You thought you were going to take $1 million out of the fund balance. You didn't touch that. You actually added $500,000. Our hope is that we're going to look at how the fund balance and some revenues will get us what we think we need, because we spent 2 years without money. That's genuine, that's real. We have not had taxpayer dollars over the last two years. The only money came from ECS from the time they cut us. We appreciate the taxpayers. We're just hoping that you'll see that the appropriation request is appropriate, and hopefully we'll be able to work with you on how to make the revenues work. Everybody needs to catch their breath, because I didn't give you a chance to do anything but listen, right?
Ken, thank you. Definitely you hit on some points there that I was actually going to bring up if you hadn't, so that's good. One of which was the issue of poverty. I know that's something that the Board of Finance brought up a couple times. We talked a little bit about some of our issues that we have going last week's meeting, but that issue, of course, has been growing, and I'm glad you touched on that. And as far as the ECS cut from the governor's budget, I'm definitely hoping, like you described, that $600,000 will go away if validated, of course. That would be great, because that would be one less thing we have lingering over us to consider with the budget. But the other thing is the MDR. That's another thing that we've been, of course, talking about ever since we got the notification that we were in violation of it. And I know that this past week there's been some new developments. If you could just give us an update, just really quick, on the MDR, where we stand.
And I'll tell you, it's always good when you have the board and the leadership that says, we need to just keep putting things on the table, and this says real income. We have been fighting the MBR issue since September. We got a letter from Kevin Chambers on behalf of Kathy Dempsey. Many of you were here when we made the presentation, and they said that here's what happened. The legislature wanted to authorize the governor to be able to make an ECS cut. He did it by what was called lapse funding, which meant there was an emergency. An emergency means it's an emergency for today. So the legislature took that language and said, you are allowed to cut ECS, but only for 1 year. So the way they worded it was, at the end of that year, districts can cut the $750,000 in Plainfield, but at the end of the year, you have to reinstate that money. Really. Then the legislature allowed for, if they give you additional money in ECS, you must add that to the original appropriation that the town gave us. So they're demanding that Plainfield add the $561,000 we got this year, I showed you that, right? And add it to the $750 that they took away from us. You didn't do that. So because you didn't give us some money and we got some other revenues, some of that was mitigated, but at the end of all of that, they're saying that the town owes the schools $551,000. All the way up, I testified before the Education Committee. We went, Mr. Sinkwitz, Ms. Haskell, myself, we went before our legislators. We went back up with the new one, Brian Lanou. Ann is not new, and Dauphin went back to see them. And we said, this is an atrocity, because the townspeople have been giving us 17 million aid every year. They haven't diminished. How can you make them give us another $750,000? And they said, talk to the Department of Ed. So I wrote to Commissioner Wenzel, who is interim, and she said I referred it to Kathy Dempsey. Kathy Dempsey reviewed it. She is the Chief Financial Officer for the Department of Ed, and she called me yesterday, and I wrote to my good buddies here, and I don't like phone calls. I like an email, congratulations, you got awarded the money. I got the phone call. Ken, you know we really like you, and we really respect Plainfield. You never became an alliance district. You saved us millions of dollars. I got the whole conversation. However, the law is the law. We don't make the law, we execute the law. If you don't put $551,000 in the budget for before June, not in July, but a year from July, you get cut $1.1 million. You have virtually 2.5 months to resolve it. Now, we're going to go back to the legislators again and ask them for that exception. And the only trick I know, and I'm not going to suggest that anyone is going to do this, the only trick is you try to get the public to understand, award that money this year. We won't spend it. How can I spend $500,000? Give it to me July 18th, June 18th, I don't care. If you award the 551, then the 1.1 million goes away. The problem is that's under MVR. So that means you just gave us 500,000 we asked for. Thank you, I like that. But you do save the 1.1 million, and then you just have to figure out how do we offset the fact that you're new. Now you got the money you needed. We would be coming in flat then. We're not going to change our budget for that. And I'm not trying to suggest, I'm using you to convince anybody, that's the only method I know left. I've written to everybody, we've seen everybody, we've petitioned the legislature, we've petitioned the commissioner, we've petitioned the finance director, and sorry, but nothing we can do about it. The legislature wrote it, and that's the way it's got to be done. So the two choices are we get enough legislators to say, hey, Montville was in the same thing, Plainfield, there were 16, but a lot of these people just, I don't know they gave money or something, but they just let it go away because they don't want to fight the state. We've been fighting for 6 months, and we just got the, sorry, you have to do it or you're going to be cut. So I hate to leave on that bad note, but that was very discouraging yesterday. It was very hard to have that call. They pat you on the back. They tell you they like you. Appreciate all your hard work. Come up with the money or you lose 1.1. I can't even imagine what they think they're doing. But so I don't care if that's on camera because I really don't understand how they think we can afford to just come up with $750 million. Well, 550. There may have been other questions, and I don't want to.
Thank you.
I know that tonight is really kind of formative. You're trying to get your hands around it because you'll spend the next couple of weeks looking at it and thinking for yourself. I wanted to make sure you at least had all the perspectives I could give you and answer any questions, or the board could answer questions.
So you mentioned that depending on the poverty rate, you get less money?
Nope.
If it's higher?
The higher it is, the more money you should get.
That's okay, yeah.
But the state has not given us more money ever because of our poverty. We went from 28 to 54%,
Right.
and they did not give us money for poverty.
All right, and you expected an increase in ECS?
I think at the very least they will hold us harmless. If we get 15,160,000, I think the legislature will fight to say, if you don't have money this year, you have a financial crisis, you're not giving that money to Alliant. You're not taking money from districts.
You do realize what you're dealing with, right?
Well, I do know that, did you see that he put 18 million of new dollars against it and 22 million of existing dollars? The rationale he's using is if you use the median family income in Plainfield, they don't deserve that money. That's actually been said by some leaders. We argue, you never gave us the money when we went from 28 to 54. How can you say now we don't deserve it? Because you want to use a new scale. You know, they said, oh, it's going to make it easy for you because now you can just use median family income. People will not have to fill out the forms, you know, the free and reduced lunch. Free and reduced lunch requires the form. The state can't mandate federal money. We're still going to have to do both now. So we're really, really hopeful. I can't promise you anything. I can only tell you we're going to have to watch what the governor does and what the legislature does. Any voice we can lend to get the legislators to understand where we are would help.
Other discussion, questions?
start this program?
This current year, we put 15,000 aside because we can't start program. You need a nurse who's also a teacher. That's about 50, 60,000. And then you have to have all the materials. We put 15,000 aside, Mr. Mayor, because we had a relationship with a college that was going to allow us 10 students at 1,500 and at least 10 kids. That's all we expected in the first year. So we were going to pay for them to have the course after school. But because we didn't do it the year before, they gave that program to another district. So the same college that could have done it can't do it. So the only thing we have left to do is we have to find out if like Quinnebog might have 2 or 3 openings. We'd have to do that piecemeal, like 1 or 2 at a time. It wouldn't be during the day, it wouldn't be in our schools, but it would stop. It's very disappointing. Because I think it's one of the avenues that the health industry is still open. There's still a lot of jobs out there. It'll happen.
You can see that locally.
You can see it all over, everywhere you see the signs posted, CNA jobs open, and they do it in 12 weeks. They train you to get you in. We were talking about having our kids really trained. One thing we are going to do is we're going to offer to our seniors, we're going to offer the para-pro training so they can walk out of school and be a para-educator. If they want to go to college, they could be working in a school. If you want to be a teacher, why wouldn't you be a para-educator for 3 years? Get money, help your parents, right? So we are going to start that. We're going to start an entry point for people who want to go right out of high school. We'll offer that as a course. I'm going to be starting it in April, asking to see what the interest is of seniors. You have to be a senior to graduate to be a para, because you have to graduate to get it. But we'll give it to seniors. That'll be a nice opportunity for career to start anyways. Sorry about the CNA, but
How many students would you expect if you would start the program?
if we started the program, they probably couldn't take in the first year more than 12, because you have to have placements for them. By the second year, those 12 as juniors would need secondary placements. You'd have 12 more. You'd need 24 within 2 years. In the first year, there would probably only be 10 to 12. The class is too hard to start up without, having a small amount of students. You have to work at Maria, Villa Maria. You have to have so many sites where they can go and do things like candy strippers. And you can't do that without 300 hours of contact time. So you have to make appointments for every one of those kids.
What would be the total cost?
So if you ran the full program, the full program in the first year with a half-year teacher, when you get one, is probably about $65,000 to $70,000.
And then how much?
And then fully blown with healthcare and everything else, probably about $100,000. But with 24 kids going, that's virtually what, $5,000 a student to virtually have a CNA career. That's pretty good over 2 years.
What would they get? What kind of certificate?
They virtually get full CNA certification. They walk into any hospital or home, and that certification is the same as you get out of the public sector. Interesting.
Last year, we started a program where we were going to bring students back in district.
We did.
To save money.
Yep.
How do we make out there, are we expanding that to save more money?
We are. You have in here 40,000 more put against the tuitions because we're expecting to make at least 40,000 more. We have 9 children in the program right now. We can put 16 without any new costs. It costs $380,000. That's what it costs us to run that program because it's a service. And the cost, as you heard from the special ed excess, a placement of one of those children is typically $70,000 plus transport. So 10 times 70 is 700,000, 380. We expected to have 200,000 this year to cut. We only actually cut about less than that, like maybe 50,000 this year. But we're expecting that we're going to get 4 more. We're actually looking at lowering the grade level to 7 through 10. Right now we have 9 through 12. But you know how hard it is to meet 11 and 12th graders? They need to be out in the workforce. 7 to 10, I don't have that problem. Plus, younger kids are a little easy to handle. So we think we could increase the draw by about 4 to 6 more students. So we have at least 40 to 50,000 more in this budget, planning on that same budget.
FYI, I was playing around with your numbers in that, and I came up with about 140,000 cuts. That's additional. Just let you know.
Certainly, I'm willing, if you want, email the ideas, because I don't know what they are and which ones.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see. We spent about 3 months, but we don't have your eyes.
So, we just recently gave you $350,000. Now you're saying, and again, not your fault, now you're saying we're gonna have to give another $551. What are you gonna do if the governor doesn't come through with your revenue projection versus what Kelly has? If we're short that money, we're not, as a town, gonna be able to dip into the general fund again to bail up the school system.
Okay.
What is your plan if we, we gave it 350, we gave it 551, what's your plan if you cut you out $800,000?
So the first part is you never dipped into the fund because you actually put 500,000 back, but just for reference, I know you planned on it, but we didn't take it. I don't know what that revenue piece is, but if the governor cuts 600,000, even if you awarded us the 499, you are allowed, after the fact, if you give it, to cut 600,000. That's in the legislation. If ECS changes, you have the right to reduce your MBR by that 600,000. So the question is, if they don't give it to you and you awarded it, you have the right to adjust our appropriation by that amount. If you and the public decide that you would like to see us. If not, the cuts are things which we've already said. You definitely can't have universal pre-K. You can't have all-day K. You cannot have some of the sports you have. I have a teacher accounted for every child. You're not going to see me reduce teachers. I can't. It's impossible. I can reduce paras, but it will reduce the control of that classroom. I will do like I did last time that the board gave me approval to do. We showed you a series of cuts to get 700,000. You're asking me to ask today what I might do, and the issue is I don't want to have those because that sounds like pressure tactics for the people. If we don't do it, we're going to lose a para. I don't want them to think that. I want them to feel that they justified the appropriation, and then if the money doesn't come in, the town has to do what it has to do. It either has to use the fund balance if they feel we're deserving, or they have to ask us to make the cuts. But until we know that, I don't want people to think we're not going to have sports, we're not going to have something, because that makes people get very anxious about why they're voting, and what are they voting for. So I don't have an answer today because I'm not facing that right now.
So, I mentioned at the last meeting, you weren't here, until the governor passes the budget, to me, the town and the Board of Ed should go into a hard, if we pass the budget, and without a state budget, both the town and the Board of Ed should go into a hard freeze until the governor passes the budget. Are you guys ready to do that?
That is the law. You don't have to demand that. If you do not approve a budget, the budget remains frozen at the last rate until you come to an agreement. So the budget we have right now is the budget that will stay in place, not the 498 we've asked for. We budget at 1/12 of that for each month. That is the law.
And I understand that. What I'm saying is if we as a town, the townspeople come in and they vote the Board of Ed budget in with this number, what I'm saying is if the governor is not giving you all your money and we don't know our number yet, I think everybody should have a hard freeze and not spend money in case he cuts $600,000 out of your budget.
Okay, and I just want to make sure I understand. So you're saying if they did vote it in,
Yep.
but the governor, we already did that last year. We did a hard freeze, right? That's what we did. That's exactly what we did do. As soon as we found that there was a variation, we were asked to freeze, and we froze everything. We kept being told, you're not freezing, you're not freezing. At the end of the year, we didn't come up with the 700,000, so I guess we froze. But we did freeze our budget, and we did say, no things are being purchased. You're not buying a cafeteria table. We went right through the budget line by line and said to every principal, you may not buy anything other than the things we already have budgeted for. We virtually put everything on hold. I agree with you. You can't be spending money.
Yeah, this is coming to a standoff again, and we're gonna get a state budget sometime in October. And we're gonna approve a budget in July, so we're gonna go 3 months without knowing what's gonna happen.
Again, the legislation I saw passed said in the last MBR, they may not pass a budget after June 30th. I thought that was approved by legislators. They'll have to violate their own law now.
They probably will.
But I'm just going by what the law says. I'm just saying, I'm assuming that they're going to live by their law, even if they have to all compromise. Somebody's going to have to give, because they said you can't do what you did to the public last time. In October, say go back and fix everything. That's how we got hurt. I don't disrespect at all your concerns. I agree with you. They're real concerns. I just think that the law, the legislatures learned how to play by the rules, and they figured out how to get the governor what they wanted, they'll figure out how to play with the rules, because they made the rules this time.
And Ken, I remember last year when we were, of course, facing ECS cuts, we had some discussion about a contingency plan. And I don't know if you would be resorting to that same contingency plan with a list of all the possible cuts that we might have to resort to if it got to that point. What were some of those, again, that were on the list?
Well, the ones that you saw, we said that we would eliminate our part-time custodians, we would get rid of our behavior management. We did all of that because it became real. All 50, as a matter of fact, 50% of the contingency plan we listed, and then there was a line and we said, these are the ones we didn't want to do. And Mr. DeMaine said, then I want to stop it at 693 because we had justified that. And that's why you cut us only to that point. I think we did exactly what you asked for, is tell us where the bottom line is, but then go as far as you have to because we want to see the other things. Maybe we won't want to lose something else. But we have to do that. That's our obligation. You have a board, they're a department of the town.
Any other questions or discussions from Board of Finance members? Hearing none, Ken, I want to thank you again for your presentation, and obviously, if there are any, maybe be able to chat very briefly afterwards. But again, thank you for coming out, doing the presentation, making yourself available, and of course, we will be in communication, I'm sure, besides you with me, the Board of Finance members in the coming weeks.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, and also remember too that I had invited you and the Board of Ed out to the 17th, so not next Wednesday, but the following, when we are going to have a joint meeting of Board of Selectmen and Board of Ed invited to join Board of Finance here. And at that point, we will have more discussion, probably with some more proposals or things that we thought of. Thank you. And with that, I will now open the floor to citizen participation. So again, just a reminder, need to keep it specific to what has been discussed here tonight with the presentation, not previous meetings, not regular meetings. This is a special meeting regarding the Board of Ed budget, so please, if you have any comments or questions, please keep it specific and make it noted. So, floor is open.
I'd just like to,
Yeah.
I guess, ask a question to Ken, which can be decided between the Board of Finance. When we're talking about the Board of Ed budget proposal and it going to the vote for the voters to approve, as far as I know, the numbers that we have to work with are what's on the actual town proposal, which is where we see the difference between the ECS funding goals. So Scott, to your question, when you ask if we were to approve the school budget, technically, the school budget is already accounting for that much lower governor's number. That's what's driving that 2 mil increase. I don't think there would be anything to go back on to pull more money out of the general fund, because given the town using the governor's number, the town general fund contribution would already be a little bit over 19 million. So was there a different angle to the question that I wasn't sure of, or
Just looking at this difference, the discrepancies in what the Board of Ed's putting up and what the town's putting up.
as I understood it, that's what was leading to a 2 mil proposal increase, because we would be using the governor's numbers, not what the Board of Ed side presentation had lined up the state revenues and the general fund contribution as. So I don't believe there would be additional funds on top of that proposal. That's already been adjusted down on the town side when it was all put together a week or two ago. If anybody understands it differently, then I would appreciate that if you pointed it out.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Sean Peterson. Ken, do you know what the enrollment number was in 2016, 2017?
It was higher by about 100.
What, hard? students higher than we are this year?
In 2016-17, we had 100 more students. It's somewhat of a slow decline because the highest grades were from 6th grade. So you see that there's still 170 in the 8th grade, but in the 4th grade, there's only 150. So what you're seeing is the attrition gets up there slowly. So while 170 kids graduated, there's only 150 coming in the door. There's the 20, and put that across 12 grades, it's going to eventually be around.
So our cost has gone up.
To what?
The cost to educate the students has gone up since 2000.
Actually, because we've been so flat, we still run in that realm in that we're not over 15,000 per child yet, and 90% of the state is. So it is going up. It's creeping. Like I said, we're one of the 10 lowest costs per student right now. It is going to rise. If we still drop kids and we don't drop the expenditure, it will go up appreciably for that reason. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. You're right.
Thank you. Is there somebody? Yes.
Hi, Laura Musa. I have a question regarding, you said 48 kids to Ellis Tech?
Yes. There's actually 148 students who go to Ellis, not 48. There's 48 children in 8th grade now asking to go to
Great.
Ellis.
So now, what about Norwich Tech, the ACT program, the BOEG, and do we have kids that go to the middle college and still the oceanography and whatever? And
We do. We have about 18 to 20 going to Killingly. We have about 28, I think, going down to Norwich Tech. Norwich isn't really our service area, but if you want to do automotive, and Ellis doesn't do it, they have to go to the nearest one. So we have well over 200 students going to alternate or the arts program, the arts magnet, the middle college, and the STEM. We have 48 students going to the STEM magnet in Wyndham, and God bless them. It's a very good school, but we outperform them. I don't know, other than it's a new school.
so are those included in your number of the kids that are going into the high school? Because you only said Ellis Tech.
Right, I added all of the reductions that happened over the last 2 years from 8th grade to 9th. We had about a 40 reduction, so I took the 171 and made it 131. I don't know for a fact because you don't choose until May or June, and I had to do this in March.
And is that also, how many kids do go to high schools that their parents pay tuition?
To another high school,
Yeah, like a lot of kids will go to Marionapolis, or their parents will pay for it, or they go down to St. Bernard's.
I don't know that because that's a choice they make. It doesn't affect us. We don't have those numbers because that's a choice a parent makes. They can go to Catholic school. They can
Right, I
go
know
to-
they're in 8th grade, so I didn't know if that was included in your numbers as well. If there's,
I used the history, as I said, because when there were 180, we ended up with 140. When we had 175, we ended up with 135. We had 171, I made it 131. That accounts for pretty much all of the kids we may lose, but I don't know exactly how many go. I know the others because I actually surveyed every single child in our district and asked them where they thought they were going next year in the 8th grade. I have that result.
then you also had said that there's programs at the high school that you're trying to encourage the kids to stay in district. Now, are those programs, or are they just classes that are electives? And do they graduate with a certificate in wood or photography or whatever they are?
Well,
Or-
what's happening is the state also required that we need to be doing more thematic programming. Like, kids just can't have 26 credits to graduate. There should be a strand. So right now, for our NEAS accreditation, we're coming up with 6 strands. A student could take, for example, like a media strand and do all the English and humanities. They could take a vocational strand, and they would have to take so many courses with such a grade level in order to get a certificate at the bottom that says, and an endorsement in technology, or an endorsement in. It won't be a certificate to work with, but the CNA would have been a certificate bearing, Para would have been a certificate bearing. The engineering ones that we have only give you 6 credits at a college that you don't have to pay for. So you're not getting a degree to work as a mechanic, but you're getting 6 credits, 2 courses at a college, which helps you a little bit with finances. So it's more financial than an award of a certificate.
Engineering is the only one that has that option? Engineering, you said, is the only one that has that option?
Engineering, and what? We have a few in the business realm, because they just came in, and she's an amazing person that we have in our department, and she's just been so proactive. The other one was CNA, and then what we have is the advanced placement in biology, chemistry, humanities, history, and in calculus and English. Those are, some of our students take as many as 5 AP courses, and they virtually walk in with 15 credits. It's a semester of college.
Because I know that Norwich Tech has the health tech program as well, so, I mean, they're a CNA junior year, so.
Yeah.
But
We used to have a child development program, but again, we needed that partnership, and when funding was tight, less kids were taking it, so we did it. We're trying to restart the interest. You need to have 18 students. You can't have one teacher for 6 kids. Yeah, it's just too much money.
Right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments? Yes.
Naomi Smith, Plainfield. I know that you said that you have, this is directed to you, Mr. DiPietro. I know you said that you have gone to Hartford and spoke with legislation about the 500,000. Would it help if the citizens made phone calls, wrote letters, sent emails?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We only have 5 people that we know who, they come here and talk to us. Most of them are junior members, and the issue is that what dominates an election and decisions are the larger Hartfords, New Britons, you know, because they're more needy and they're saying, what about us? It's hard when you see that body of legislators saying, these kids. I think we have an appropriate, I know this is me doing the politics piece, but I think we have a leg to stand on to say, if you have not, in Rhode Island where I came from, if you did not have a plan, you could not get turnaround money. You can't walk in and give them $4 million and say, what do you want to do with it on July 1st? I can't even hire a teacher. Where am I going to put it? So they should have plans to make that money work. If we just wrote, which we've been doing personally, and some of us, saying, if you want to give 18 million, but make them show you what that 18 million will do for children and hold them accountable, then that makes sense. But if you take 22 million, you're going to have 10 more alliance districts next year. What are you going to do, give them $10 more million? Like, that doesn't make sense. You don't take money from the survivors who are making it by the skin of their teeth.
Right.
So I agree, if we could get the public to call a legislator and say, I want to know why you're taking money from non-alliance districts. Leave them alone and give money to the alliance if they need it. That's a reasonable suggestion to a leader.
Okay. My next question is, in the annual report, which does apply to the budget tonight, I was actually quite concerned with our truancy numbers. What is going on with that?
I didn't hear. There were some
The numbers for truancy.
Oh, truancy.
I'm very concerned with that.
Yep.
What is going on with that? How do we address that?
So, in context with this, with finance, let me make a short answer, but tell you, please, by all means, email or whatever, I'd be happy. The truancy issue is happening across the state, which is why it's such a crisis. And what we're finding is 2 ends of the spectrum. At the high school, we have children who get disenchanted, they feel they're not going to pass, so we have very high absenteeism in the realm of 15–17%. As soon as you hit 15%, you're called truant. For the child who misses 10 days in a year, even with an excuse, they're called truant. So we're fighting 2 battles. I can't stop the parents who have sick children who stay home. So I have at least 30% of the children, by legitimate reason. If we could get the state to understand that's not the one you should worry about. If we're wrong on the other ones where we don't have legitimate reasons, parents aren't parenting, people are not, you know, we have a lot of single parents here. We have issues that are going on, so children stay home. Some of our children stay home to take care of their younger brother or sister. We know that to be true, but it is higher. At the elementary level, where we see it is at Shepherd Hill and not at Moosa. We see the absenteeism. We believe we just got that under control, but that's an issue of the fact, not pre-K, because pre-K doesn't really count because it's voluntary, but it's because of the Wauregan district. That's where we have a little higher issue that we're trying to think what we can do socially to help parents understand. At the high school, we're trying to get vans to pick up the kids. Because they're old enough to knock on the door and say, why are you not in school? I can't do that with a 6-year-old.
Right.
I just can't. So the issue is complex, mostly at the high school. The Shepherd Hill, I think we can resolve in a short order. We have a whole team that meets once a month, every month, with plans, and they're still being defeated. Because you can't change the culture overnight. That's really a sadness for me. If you're not in school, you can't learn.
Exactly. And
How simple is that?
Yeah, we're paying for empty seats.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
Just one quick one. Has the dropout rate improved?
I'm going to say the answer is it has improved. The dropout has not been our biggest crisis. But Madeline, I'm going to tell you, again, if you do, we take some children who in 4 years can't meet the expectations. Some of them are 17 and 18 years old, they stay back. So we offer to the parents, if they want to, they can go to East Con and go into the GED program. And those children become successful. The state said they dropped out. They will not allow the fact that we have them in an educated program. You have to drop out in order to be in the program. So we have 3 or 4 or 5 students that are still bumping on number higher than we like it. But it's not because they're not in school. It's not because they want to drop out, but that's the only way they can get into the adult ed, right? So it has dropped, but it could be lower, and it can't until we can, again, break the back of, that's a crazy decision. We have like an 88% graduation rate in general, but we have like a 91% graduation in 5 years, because we don't let them go. 91% isn't a bad graduation rate. I would love 100, but it's not bad. But we can't do it all in 4 years. So we show the public, we're at 88, that's our number, but the state also says we're at 91. And the other thing that they credit us for is some of our kids are staying in college when they go there longer than other children. Our survival rate in post-secondary is a bit high, and definitely outside of our financial image that we have. They said, you know, you're poor, you should have all these issues, and we don't. We give them universal pre-K, universal SATs. You know what? You can get it, you know, in Darien, you should be able to get it here. That just makes kids feel that they're being respected. But I regret that, wish we were a little bit lower the dropout.
Okay, thanks again, Ken. Any other citizens' participation?
Yeah. I have more. On the capital improvement end, how come so many repairs with Woodstock Elementary? I mean, we're talking close to $237,000 this year alone in the capital improvement. And again, like $50,000 fencing, that's perimeter fencing of $50,000. It's on there almost every year.
The reason is, Woodstock is the stepchild for some. It's one of the old schools. It's an all-electric school. The heating cannot survive the way it is. The expense is outrageous. But it's as a matter of fact, it's such a large electric school, they have 2 meters. Like not one, they have 2 meters. That's how large it is. And then you have a building that had PCP in the roof. So we had to take the roof off, and every other roof costs us 2/3 of what it costs at Woodstock. Then we have no parking. You know how tight the compression is. So we redesigned it. I mean, Paul took 5 years, then he said, before I leave, we're going to do it. So we put the parking in the back, took a little bit of the field, but now the parents are very safe. The reason is it's so old and it has tri-levels. You have stairways that lead down and stairways that lead up. You need to do renovations in that school. Shepherd Hill is a beautiful flat design.
Right.
PMS, if you haven't seen it, it's gorgeous. The reconstruction is beautiful. PCS is a train. It's just, that's it.
Yeah.
All the rooms and all the rooms. I mean, it's a train. So you fix it and you do it, and they keep it. The high school's brand new.
So where is the fencing, the perimeter fencing at the Woodstock Elementary School going?
So the fencing that they wanted was to protect the field, right? For the play area? Go ahead, yeah. You know, she was there.
I'm former principal at Woodstock Elementary, now retired. But the perimeter fencing we're talking about is, as you know, Woodstock Elementary is a neighborhood school. So there's fencing all along the front, by the park side. There's fencing around the whole school. I think that fencing has probably been there since I went to school there. So but it needs to be replaced. I mean, it is a security issue, number one. but also, you know, not so much from keeping people out, but just keeping those kids from running around the neighborhood.
The reason why I'm asking is because last year, it was listed under fencing at the Moosup Elementary, and it was the parking lot. I don't know if you remember. Yeah. So that's why I was like, how come we're doing fencing again, and is it really fencing again?
Because the town only approves the ability to purchase, but we've never gotten the money. In 5 years, there's not been enough money to do any of these. We just move them forward. It's not that we've been doing it 5 years and you keep wanting the same money. We never got it. Some of the public do believe when they approved the capital, you did that year, but we don't. That's why we have 1s and 2s and 3s. Some of them are wish lists, some of them are in the budget. The fencing is not one of the $50,000 I have to do them. No, that's not, just go there.
I don't know what that, Sean Pearson. Has the asbestos been dealt with there?
The,
Tiles in the separate areas?
there's 3 sections, and I have to figure out what schools, who I have here. We still have the 2 rooms if 2 rooms are there, they're self-contained. You have to rip the rug to do it, so we just won't do it until we have the money. That's about $20,000 to $30,000 for those 2 rooms. Shepherd Hill has the most because it has carpeting and asbestos, but it's like in the hall, so we're just, when we get the money, it's gonna take, I think Shepherd Hill is one that has that. We did everything except the hallways up here. Or is that just carpeting?
Is that not in the capital this year? Because I don't remember seeing it listed. I was wondering if they got it done.
No, we do, by the way,
I see tiles.
there's still carpeting in Shepherd Hill. The library is there, right?
360.
The library and the hallways still have yet to be there. Other than that, and we did, by the way, we found asbestos at PNS that we did not know. It's contained, but we didn't know because of the fire we found it. So that's been removed by the luck of the fire. Most of the asbestos cut we laid about 3 years ago. When the money stopped, we virtually put everything on the wall. Doug Smith chastised me every year, but all the rest we did get done.
But it's $8,000. You could find $8,000 to get that done.
8,000 for which one?
It says carpet and tile, $8,000.
That's just carpet.
That's just
That's
carpeting.
not the abatement.
Well, how come it's not listed as a basement?
Does it say abate?
It says carpet and tile, it's $8,000. Shouldn't the abatement be listed?
Yeah. I don't know, John.
I'll show you.
If it says carpet 2 tile, if it says carpet 2 tile, it just means you want to convert it from carpet, which they feel.
Well, how can you carry the abatement in your capital? That should be get that done.
Well, we plan to do it in our budget. Every year, we put money in our budget for asbestos, because we don't ever expect to get the capital budget. Nothing against the town, but we just know that that's more of a wish list than a reality.
Okay. Thank you.
You might have it, Sean.
No,
Any other citizen participation? Yes.
Just one more, is it an option to close Moosup Elementary and bring them all to Shepherd Hill, consolidate them?
The question was asked, but if you just look at the numbers we have, there's nowhere I can put 350 students. I can't put them in Shepherd Hill, I can't put them in Memorial. The schools are not large enough. I think we can use them better, but I don't think we have the ability to close. We did try, we did look at it, we gave a full extensive report, but there's too many children for that.
Any other citizen participation? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, we have a motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Okay, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned.